South Africa. I'm Eben Jansen. The show is broadcast live every weekday morning between 9 and 10 a.m. Highlights are then repeated at 2 in the afternoon, with the rebroadcast at 5 a.m. the following morning. We're also streaming live on YouTube between 9 and 10 a.m. every day, with the entire show available on our YouTube channel all of the time. Now, it was a dramatic day in court yesterday as murder suspect Oscar Pistorius broke down several times. Forensic evidence continues as the trial enters a seventh day. We'll also later talk to trade union NUMSA on their proposed move into politics, and then we'll get an update from Mpumalanga on the extent of flood damage in that province. But first, here are the news headlines. Another emotional court session lies ahead today with more graphic medical evidence of the gunshots that killed Oscar Pistorius' girlfriend Riva Steenkamp is expected. Pistorius sobbed in court yesterday as he listened to findings from the autopsy on Steenkamp, whom he shot dead on Valentine's Day last year. Pathologist Gert Simon is expected to be cross-examined by defense advocate Barry Roo for most of today. The Water Affairs Department has issued a flood warning to several provinces as heavy rainfall continues to soak most of the country. Emergency services remain on high alert with more rainfall predicted for Gauteng, Mpumalanga and Limpopo. And the desperate search for the Malaysian jet that vanished at the weekend with 239 people on board has been significantly expanded. Frustration is mounting over the failure to find any trace of the plane, and the Malaysian authorities have doubled the search area to 100 nautical miles. Now, another emotional court session lies ahead today. More graphic medical evidence of the gunshots that killed Oscar Pistorius' girlfriend Riva Steenkamp is expected. Pathologist Gert Simon will be cross-examined by defense advocate Barry Roo. Now for an update, to get the latest before court starts, we're going to cross to our reporter Griselda Lewis, who is at this moment waiting for the High Court to get underway at 9:30 this morning. Good morning, Griselda.
Good morning, Eben.
Just tell us what is expected today, and are we going to start at 9:30 as well?
Well, we're definitely going to start at 9:30 once again this morning, Eben. Well, just as you were starting the show, Oscar Pistorius was walking into this courtroom flanked by his family, looking very composed, a far cry from the emotional, drained Oscar Pistorius, who we saw yesterday after and also during he was listening to the testimony of the pathologist who conducted the post-mortem on Riva Steenkamp, Professor Gert Simon. So we're really expecting another emotional day in court today. Oscar Pistorius looking very composed as he walked inside the court today. We're expecting the cross-examination to continue this morning of the pathologist.
Just tell us about that emotional day. There were lots of reports about him breaking down and some people say throwing up in court. Is that accurate?
If you could kindly repeat it, please, Eben.
Just take us through the range of emotions that he went through yesterday. Some people say that he broke down several times. Of course, we weren't allowed to see the footage in court. Just tell us about the extent of the emotional scenario that he went through yesterday.
Well, inside the court, Eben, you will remember, first of all, there was an objection by the pathologist for the testimony to be live on television. Basically, what the pathologist was saying is that he thought that it really basically would be in bad taste for it to be beamed live on television. Out of respect, that should not happen. Out of respect for Riva Steenkamp and also out of respect for the family, as we did expect graphic details to come from that testimony, because as you heard following the reports that were given, that there was really graphic details of the extent of the damage that the bullets did to Riva Steenkamp. So basically, while Oscar Pistorius was listening to that and we were looking at him, we were not allowed to tweet about the testimony at the time. So our focus very much was between the testimony and the emotions that Oscar Pistorius was showing during the testimony. I tell you, Oscar Pistorius Pistorius could not contain himself to such an extent that court officials had to bring a bucket in order for him to basically gasp inside there. He started vomiting as well, and his family seemed very concerned about his condition yesterday. And so did some of the Steenkamp family that was here, the Myers family as well. You know, the Myers family are the family that Reeva Steenkamp was staying with in Johannesburg. So it was a hive of emotions that was taking place inside the court yesterday, such that the Judge Masipa, had to intervene to ask Oscar Pistorius if he was okay.
Griselda, just tell us about the media ban yesterday. I think, what was the response from all local and international media on yesterday's specific ban?
Yeah, and as we report on this case, as it's of international interest, we have a responsibility, to report responsibly about this case as we would in any other case involving murder or whatever other crime it is that has been committed. But because of the sensitive nature of this case and the interest, the massive interest that it has really drawn around the world, a lot of media that I spoke to were very concerned about the fact that we were not able to take it live, while others seem to understand, after listening to the testimony of Professor Gert Seyman, that it really would have been in bad taste to broadcast it live on television because of the graphic nature of the details that the court basically heard yesterday. So while there was disappointment, there was also an understanding that this could not be done because of the sensitive nature and the graphic details that we heard in court yesterday. But there were many others who raised issues about why it was that we were not allowed to even tweet about what the pathologist was saying, yet there were incidents such as Marikana, where we saw those images on South African television where the miners were killed, and nobody said anything about not showing those graphic details on television. So there was a lot of talk amongst journalists yesterday about why this case in particular should not be shown live. Why should the nation and the world at large not hear what the pathologist who conducted the post-mortem on Reeva Steenkamp have to say?
Finally, Griselda, and media interest, international and local, it's not waning at all, is it?
Well, it definitely still is massive in South Africa, as expected, and around the world. But what we're sensing at the moment is that from the international media, you've still got two other very big stories that are dominating world headlines, including the situation in Crimea, as well as the missing Malaysian airline. So for the international media at the moment, it's a bit of a dice between Oscar Pistorius, the missing airline, and the ongoing situation in Crimea. But here in South Africa, I can tell you every single media house in South Africa is still leading with this story, but of course also putting attention on the devastating floods in some parts of the country. So I wouldn't say that it's dwindling amongst the international media, but they're really trying to juggle between the Oscar Pistorius trial and other massive stories that are in the international stage at the moment.
Griselda, thank you very much this morning. Griselda Lewis, live from the High Court in the capital, of course, where the Oscar Pistorius trial will continue today. This after what was a very emotional session yesterday.
The pathologist testified how Steenkamp died of multiple gunshot wounds, a wound to the right side of her head, which fractured her skull, a shot to the upper right arm, and another on the right hip, both shattering her bones. Steenkamp also had an injury between her fingers and bruises to her back, buttocks and breast. Simon suggested some of the injuries were caused by wood splinters from the bathroom door through which the shots were fired.
This ammunition is designed by Winchester to cause maximum damage or catastrophic tissue damage on impact. So what actually happens is this bullet, when it hits tissue, it flattens and then it mushrooms and then it breaks apart. But remember also that as it mushrooms, the edges are very sharp, so it spins and it cuts at the same time. causing massive hemorrhaging type wounds.
Simon also reveals that Steenkamp had semi-digested food in her stomach and could have eaten 2 hours before she died. This contradicts Pistorius' statement that they were in bed at 10 p.m. As details of the post-mortem were read out in court, it all became too much for Oscar Pistorius. He sobbed uncontrollably and became nauseous. Then Judge Masipa had to hold proceedings.
I don't have any regrets.
The Meyers, the family Reeva stayed with in Johannesburg, also battled emotions. The Pistorius family tried to console the weeping and gagging Paralympian. Oscar Pistorius left the courtroom red-faced, forced to listen to explicit details of his model girlfriend's injuries. Crisalda Lewis, SABC News, in Pretoria.
Now, yesterday, when we were still able to broadcast the trial live on our YouTube channel, Vadim Schreiner gave us some background on the media's coverage of the Oscar Pistorius trial. The testimony and cross-examination of pathologist Gert Simon may, of course, not be broadcast live. Let's just recap on what he had to say yesterday. Interesting first week. There's been a lot of toing and froing with the media. What's your take on how things have gone for the media in the first week? And can they get kicked out of the court all as some people are saying?
Well, I think they've behaved surprisingly well, surprisingly considering the less than good behavior during the bail application. I think things were too hot back then a year ago. I think the media had time to think for about a year what to do, how they're going to approach the subject and what it would go and do. So I think surprisingly, I think this has been a good week for the media.
And what's your reaction to the sort of first week of coverage? Is it sort of what's been expected, this wall-to-wall Oscar live scenario?
Yeah, it's what we had to go and expect. And again, there were opportunities to mess it up. There were opportunities to really focus on the sensational parts and speculate a lot. We saw very little speculation at this point of time. We saw focusing on the facts. And I think, again, that speaks great things about the journalism here.
Freedom of the press in South Africa has somewhat been under the spotlight, if not on trial. How have we performed this far, in your opinion?
Outside of the Oscar Pistorius case or inside it? No, I think there is no threat to media freedom around this Oscar Pistorius case. I think the rules had to go and be put down by the judge. She did. There were a couple of scares. If we were going to go and abuse that, we scraped by very narrowly, and I think we've learned our lesson. We are sticking to it now. So any other attempts to not to behave should not be seen as a restriction of the press freedom, I think.
The other thing that's also on trial outside of sort of press freedom, as is always, is the South African justice system. How are we performing? What is our justice system looking like if you came from a different country, or if you viewed South Africa like this for the first time? How are we doing?
Again, I think we've improved significantly from just about a year ago, where there was great concerns. We had, the investigating officer issues around this one. There was a lot of aspects in the bail hearing that put a very negative light. I think this time we are doing well, and I think that's very, very good for South Africa, because I think one of the concerns, particularly in terms of the image of South Africa, international media, international world, was going to go and be the justice system, and I think we're doing well. Some don't understand how it works, and I think there's a lot of explanation happening. That's good.
When we talk about justice, part of that argument is always access to justice. And we live in a world where the rich have more access to justice than the poor. How are we looking on that front here in South Africa with this trial? Does it look like if you're rich and famous, you've got a better chance of getting across the line, as it were, to use a pun in this case?
Yes, the answer is clearly yes, and I think all the other commentators have been saying about the same. If you have got more money, it gets you a better chance. It doesn't necessarily buy you freedom, it doesn't necessarily get you off the hook, but your chances are improving significantly. If you've got money, that's the case, however, around the world. So it's not necessarily a South African thing. However, in South Africa, with a great divide between rich and poor, which is much bigger than in other countries, it is quite normal to go and draw that conclusion. It is a danger. Again, it's something that we're going to have to go and see depending on the outcome of this trial. What we're going to go and make out of that, we don't know yet.
Finally, your business is called Insight. What are the unique insights? What are the things that we are not seeing about this trial that's happening?
Actually, I'm representing a company called Onico. I'm head of the insights of that department. But what insights basically means that we've got to go and look behind the stories. At the moment, it is very technical. We're looking at the legal aspects of the case. We're looking at the potential repercussions. But we've got to go and look beyond this. We need to go and look, what does it mean for the society in this country? Can people go and get any messages out of this one? We need to go and look how it impacts on the governmental aspects, about the legislative aspect. And we predominantly need to go and look what this court case does in terms of the overall perception of South Africa internationally. So there's a lot of insights we can go and draw. First week is too short. We have to go and wait for more weeks to go and come. But certainly those are the areas that we're looking at when we're looking at insights.
Yeah, surely a unique insight into justice, but then also the role of the media and this trial by media that everyone's talking about. Let's look at what you are talking about on social media, which of course plays as important a role in this trial because many people have found Oscar innocent. Others have found him guilty already on social media. Nicole Swart says the Oscar Pistorius trial is getting more interesting by the day. Such a tragic event. Rest in peace, Reva. That's a very nice touch. Sometimes we forget about the victim in this case. Anton Harbour says overprotective Pistorius judge is taking court backwards with unclear, confusing rulings. Good precedents reversed, he says. Jeff Olago says gut-wrenching truth. Pistorius covers his ears and throws up as pathologists' evidence is heard. That, of course, yesterday's dramatic day in court there in Pretoria. Suzanne Brenner says, whatever the outcome of this sad tale of Oscar and Reva, whose undoing is playing out before him, he must be wondering how it came to this. Ban guns, says Suzanne. I think that is a very good call there. In a country where gun crime always seems to be affecting our lives. And Sana says, as outsiders, we see things more clearly. There are a lot of things that incriminate Oscar which Nell hasn't brought up. That's right, my dear. Everybody has been an expert in this case. Everybody sees an angle on it. But we must understand that the judge's test or the judge's decision at the end of this trial will be on all of the evidence, not on one witness or on one particular piece of evidence, but all of it in context. That's a reality. So let's not prejudge Oscar. Let's leave that to the judge, who will make an educated and informed decision over all of the evidence over the duration of this trial. Of course, at SABC Newsroom, that's where we love to see your contributions. Keep it coming. We love it. And even pictures of the floods. You can go to our Facebook page now. It's called Newsroom. Put up your pics. We love to broadcast them at some stage later in the week if we find them. We're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, we talk to NUMSA about politics, capitalism and socialism here in South Africa. You're watching Newsroom on SABC News.
Capitec Bank is asking why to simplify banking. Do you know what your bank costs are?
I don't know, but I know it's too much.
At 65 rand?
Between 200 and 250.
I don't, but I know it's too much. It's too much, yeah.
Why don't you switch banks?
Switch!
Yeah, way too much of a hassle, my man.
We help 100,000 people open accounts at Capitec Bank every month. If you haven't joined us yet, ask why.
This is the program in which we showcase different aspects of government.
The Northern Cape is a land of many diverse cultures, of frontier history and brave missionaries. It also has countless challenges.
The Northern Cape has been plagued by especially alcohol abuse, rape and common assault and things like that.
More opportunities are being created each year to benefit all in the region.
This is a nation at work.
Welcome back. This is Newsroom on SABC News. Now, the National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa, or NUMSA as it's known in this country, has hinted that it will in time launch a political party. The party could be called the United Front and Movement for Socialism. It would be aimed at uniting the working class and mobilizing around issues affecting workers. Contesting the 2014 elections, however, was off the table. NUMSA will neither support the ANC in the 2014 elections. And in studio this morning, we are joined by NUMSA's National Treasurer, Mpunzi Makungu. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning and to your listeners.
Everything accurate there? Are you starting a political party, and when?
First, I think I must contextualize. As an organization, since our existence, we've been supporting the African National Congress, and that has not been done on a free basis. There has been a minimum program that through COSATU will go out and engage, and that these are the list of issues that we as workers, we as a working class, will seek to achieve at the end of the year. Now, at the end of the day. Now, last year we had an evaluation. You will recall that from 2012 June, we had our own NUMSA National Congress that took resolutions, politically, organizationally, and socio-economic resolutions. And we realized that during the past 17 months, that most of those political resolutions and socio-economic resolutions are not in line with our resolutions. Hence, we decided to go to a special Congress, and we resolved on few issues. For an example, we said in relation to COSATU, we must go as NUMSA and engage within the federation that we think it's time for us to review the existence of COSATU within the alliance, purely because there are a number of issues that we've taken from COSATU to the alliance summit, and we could not win those issues. So why there should be an existence? So there's a debate on its own. The second one is that we want to form a united front, because this country every day is burning. People all over the country are protesting, and we think that those struggles, they should be coordinated. Insofar as a movement for socialism, we said we must go to other countries, Bolivia, Venezuela, and Cuba, and learn from those particular countries, having learned and come back and report on 2015 March. So at the moment, there's no political party. NUMSA is still continuing to be the trade union.
There's no political party, but there's a lot of loose talk going on. How do you explain the loose talk about starting a political party?
Now I've just explained the history, which I think is very important, how we have arrived. We said that we shall go to other countries where there has been workers' party and draw lessons, and where there were advantages and strength, we should take care of that and come and report. It's an exploration.
Has this been organized, though? Has it been organized, and what are the dates, and how will it proceed?
We have no dates yet. For an example, as I'm talking to you, the General Secretary is overseas attending various meetings for the betterment of the organization. And obviously, there are meetings that will be held in April where we've got comrades from Venezuela and Cuba, where we'll be sharing experiences. At the moment, we're not forming any political party. We are just sharing experiences because we want to make sure that by the time we present a detailed report on March 2015, there's good work that has been done by NOBs.
Earlier this week, the movement spoke about capitalism and having failed in South Africa and having failed the people of South Africa. How do you see socialism change the lives of people in South Africa where capitalism failed?
No, look, there's a lot that our people can benefit. You will recall that NUMSA in its own existence, in fact, is championing for betterment of the everybody in this particular country. With the neoliberal policies that are in place to date, we don't think that we shall benefit. For an example, there's been the NTP. If you look at the NTP, it talks to 2030. At the current moment, various people, unemployment, youth is not working. Even those that pass matric, they are unable to go to school. So we think that there should be a shift in relation to the policies that our own government is being implemented.
How will socialist policies create jobs and job opportunities for youth?
For an example, at the current moment, the very certain few individuals, we are saying there are opportunities in this particular country. Our own government, when it comes to if you check the cars, for example, or clothes, meat, and everything else, there's been in and outflow of the imports that are being produced in this particular country. There are no control measures that are tight, and we think that we should defend our own economy and make sure that the tariffs issue is being addressed. Like if you go to China, you've got a clear policy that if you go and invest there, there must be clear monitoring mechanism. In this particular country, it's free flow, and then it becomes a problem for us because it kills the current existing jobs, including the industry.
So you are talking about a Chinese-style socialism where you have almost a socialist back end with an operations that's run in the capitalist world.
Yes, there's nothing wrong to learn from those particular countries. I'm making a very serious example here. For an example, in this particular country, the cars that are being produced in this particular country are less than the cars that are coming out of this particular country. What does that tell you? It tells you that the manufacturing sector, the car sector, including the supplier base, will obviously fall away, including the suppliers. Now, what we're fighting for is that, for an example, clothing sector, it has diminished purely because we allow trade to come out of other countries and come and dump here. That creates a problem. We think there should be a limit when it comes to the tariffs, because if you don't do that,
is it not the reason why those products can come to this country? Because labor has become so expensive in this country that it's much cheaper to manufacture in countries like China. The products at the end, if you have manufacturing in this country, you won't be able to compete on price to the exact same people that you're trying to serve in the end.
No, I totally disagree with you. That in South Africa, we are a developing country. There are countries, the majority of the companies that NUMSA organize are multinational companies. You go to Australia, you go to Brazil, you go all these particular countries. Those workers are far better paid than us, including their social benefits that they receive, including even the state, they do take care of them. The issue here is that how do we explain, is it expensive to have a worker who is working in a garage who's earning 22 rand, and at the moment, food, everything else, petrol is going up in this particular country.
That's exactly the context. You're looking at economies that are doing well compared to an economy in South Africa that is lagging behind. Surely you have to think about sustainability and how do you resuscitate the economy while you have those goals in mind.
We are not talking about small companies here. We're talking about companies that make sure that, for an example, a car manufacturing, whether it's General Motors or any other company, the salaries that those workers are earning, and if you compare it with the prices of these particular cars,
correct.
And the issue is that for years these countries have benefited, and why it is wrong, for example, us as workers, to improve the conditions of workers.
So you are prepared to push these companies all the way on the sustainability front to the extent where they are prepared to move their business elsewhere?
No, not at all. For an example, I want to tell you that in 1995, in this country, in the auto sector, we agreed, and government included, that there was what we called MIDP that incentivized the existence of these particular companies. That will make sure that it creates job opportunities and decent jobs. Now, those companies have benefited. Up until to date, APDP is an incentive which our own taxpayers' money, these companies, they won't leave this particular country, not at all.
I wish we had more time because there are quite a few questions down this road that I want to ask you, but we've run out of time, unfortunately. Thank you, National Treasurer of NUMSA, Mapunzi Makungo. Thank you for joining us this morning. Now, heavy rains and flooding continue to cause havoc around the country. In Limpopo, 2 more people are feared drowned. A 64-year-old woman was reportedly swept away while crossing a river outside Machado. A child is also reportedly drowned in Sanin. This as the search for a 69-year-old woman who went missing in Bela Bela after a dam wall disintegrated is continuing. In the Mpumalanga province, more than 30 families have been left stranded near Skumansdal in the Lowveld due to the heavy rains. People in Mozambique around Maputo have been taken to places of safety due to the floods. Now, for more details, our reporter Pepile Kunene joins us on the line. Good morning, Pepile.
Morning, Eben.
Pepile, just tell us, you've travelled to all these affected areas. Just give us a broad picture of the effects of the damage that's been caused by the rains in Mpumalanga and our bordering countries.
Okay, in Mpumalanga, a number of places have been affected. This includes some areas around Bushbuck Ridge and a lot of areas in Komazi. One area which has not been able to get any kind of aid is one that is in Macmac, which is pronounced as Mege Mege. It's in deep rural area in Nkomazi. It's sort of mountainous, the place at which these people are. They don't even have basic services like water and electricity. Getting there has been a mammoth task for those who are providing aid. That is the Nkomazi municipality as well as the Department of Culture. Those people have had about 38 houses which fell due to the heavy rains, and they don't have anywhere to stay. The Department of Culture as well as the Nkomazi municipality decided to house them in a school. It's a school that was used, it's a farm school that was used by learners around there, and it has been vacated.
Spapila, how are the floods affecting things like schooling and the day-to-day life of villagers there in the areas?
Some learners haven't been to school in over a week now because of the heavy rains. But today the skies look like they're clearing, and we are hoping for the better. The people that we're talking about in Mege might be able to receive help today, because the reason they couldn't send a chopper there to take aid was because the weather was still bad. There was still so much rain in that area. But the weather services informed us that by Wednesday, the skies should be more clearer starting today. So we may be expecting schooling to start to normalize around tomorrow or Thursday.
Now, Spapila, just tell us about the plans that's being put in place by the local municipalities there to give people a helping hand, and what are the plans they're putting in going forward to curb and deal with these issues?
Yesterday, Culture and the municipality went to sort of assess the area, assess the needs that the people have. They concluded that since they can't reach most of the places at which they're supposed to be, they are going to rope in the Department of Public Works as well as Human Settlement for those who have lost their houses, Public Works for roads, because that area has got two streams which have low-lying bridges. And those low-lying bridges, as soon as the rain becomes heavy, no one can cross over. So the Department of Culture said they are going to submit by next week and take it from there on. They are not sure as to when they'll be able to implement the necessary needs that the people need.
And Spapila, finally, just tell us, our neighbouring country, Maputo, we understand there's been lots of heavy rain there. How are they dealing and coping with the floods?
In Mozambique, Maputo has been affected, as well as central Mozambique and North Mozambique. People are being evacuated from their homes, and they are housed in schools and community halls, according to the Mozambican authorities. We haven't been there as a team to check the damage as to how far it is, how big it is. But they say it's bad because they're receiving the water from Mpumalanga. Mpumalanga has its rivers flowing through Mozambique. So most of the water that comes from this side, they are received by them. Yet Mozambique is sort of flat. It's easy to flood.
Spapila, thank you for that contribution. That is Spapila Kanina coming to you from Nelspruit, where heavy flooding continues in that area, and we'll keep you updated as to how things develop over there, as well as in Mozambique. Of course, here in South Africa, we also have our fair amount of floods. It's not only down in the sort of low-felt areas, lots of flooding. We've got some pictures on Bright Eye, actually, that's coming through. We've got some YouTube clips of some of the real incredible flooding that we've seen. This is at the Klein Kariba. Is this the Klein Kariba Resort? Yes, this is at the Klein Kariba Resort near Bella Bella last weekend. This is the kind of damage that has come through. That used to be a road that you see there. That is some of the flooding. Cars were washed away. A woman was washed away in the floods after a local dam overflowed in that area. Devastating effect of the massive amounts of water that have been flowing through these areas. That is Klein Kariba Resort near Bella Bella, completely washed away. It'll take months and months to just get that place up to this. This clip we also picked off YouTube. It's Magnolia Dell Park in Pretoria. The park was also changed into a lake, really, temporary river, if you can call it that. as the floods continue here in the northern parts of the country. Heavy rain continues, and the outlook from the South African Weather Service continues to be for more rain in the northern parts of the country, at least until Thursday this week. They issued a warning for people living in low-lying areas to be on the lookout for any flash floods. Those pictures off YouTube, that was Magnolia Dal Park in Pretoria that you just saw. That was a camping area that was really turned into a temporary river. Keep it coming. We love your contribution. Let's take a look now at what you are saying on social media. Alistair Otte says, after more than a week of heavy rain, saying that today's weather will include showers hardly seems to capture it. That is correct, Alistair. It's really been raining cats and dogs. Charles Celiers says, what impact is all this rain in Joburg having in the fight against acid mine drainage water rising up to street level? Acid bath on the way. Yes, that is a real concern. Let's hope we can all just wash away, Charles, but it's certainly not going to be as simple as that. Mike Roscoe says, 11th day of rain. Please clear up today as predicted. Well, it might just open up a little bit, Mike, but it looks like the forecast for tomorrow and Thursday don't look too good. And then Justine Abrams says, Cape Town needs to take its weather back. That's an interesting spin on it all, of course. And then Maybeen Siabe says the weather in Gauteng is unacceptable. Why is the public protector not investigating? I agree with you. Tuli Madunsela has got the ointment for every problem in this country. Deal with the weather, my dear. Deal with the weather. We've had weather for more than 2 weeks now, and it looks like it's going to be for almost 3 weeks that the rain will continue here in Gauteng and the northern parts of this country. Now, keep it coming at SABC Newsroom. Also, we've got a Facebook page. It's called Newsroom. Go there, like it if you like us, or like it if you want to see real good content. We've got lots and lots of content, interesting clips, interviews and the like on our Facebook page. So go there if you really want to catch up with some of the stuff you missed today or a little bit earlier in the week. After a short break, we'll be back with more right here on Newsroom.
It's incredible how this cup of coffee got here.
Explain.
Well, the farmer has to know when it's going to rain. The buyer needs to know when to buy. The trucks, when to collect.
Mm-hmm.
For that, you need a satellite to talk to the ships and the factories.
So where's the coffee in all this?
I don't know, in a big warehouse somewhere. Which has to make sure that every farmer gets paid in the right currency.
So who does all of that?
Who knows?
Capitec Bank is asking why to simplify banking. Do you know what your bank costs are?
I don't know, but I know it's too much.
That's 65 rand?
Between 200 and 250.
I don't, but I know it's too much.
It's too much, yeah.
Why don't you switch banks?
Sweet.
Yeah, way too much of a hassle, my man.
We help 100,000 people open accounts at Capitec Bank every month. If you haven't joined us yet, ask why.
Welcome back. Let's just take another look at your news headlines. Another emotional court session lies ahead today with more graphic medical evidence of the gunshots that killed Oscar Pistorius' girlfriend Reva Steenkamp expected. Pistorius sobbed in court yesterday as he listened to findings from the autopsy on Steenkamp, whom he shot dead on Valentine's Day last year. Pathologist Gert Simon is expected to be cross-examined by defense advocate Barry Roux for most of today. The Water Affairs Department has issued a flood warning to several provinces as heavy rainfall continues to soak most of the country. Emergency services remain on high alert with more rainfall predicted for Gauteng, Mpumalanga and Limpopo. and the desperate search for the Malaysian air jet that vanished at the weekend with 239 people on board has been significantly expanded. Frustration is mounting over the failure to find any trace of the plane, and the Malaysian authorities have doubled the search area to 100 nautical miles. Now, the South African Broadcasting Corporation and the South African National Editors Forum are to sign a memorandum of understanding to facilitate cooperation between these two bodies.
Relations between the public broadcaster and SANEF have been strained over a period of time. Both parties called for better relations and encouraged cooperation.
What is important is SABC now getting involved in the meetings and have robust discussion in those meetings so that we can also influence the direction and the public mandate within SABC to say, this is our view, and how do we relate with SANEF? What are the relationship? What is the benefit for SABC? What is benefit for SANEF within SABC? Those are the issues that we are dealing with. But in principle, we have agreed that we should have an MOU so that we work together. And I'm happy that SANEF, they are on board. We are on board so that really we can take our country forward.
It's important that the SABC, as the biggest media house by reach in South Africa, participates in our activities. I think we will be poorer if the SABC continued to stay away. Although we had few colleagues from the SABC participating, I think this decision of today will ensure that more senior colleagues from the SABC participate, and that can only be good for the media in South Africa and for SANEF in particular.
The Memorandum of Understanding is expected to be signed in 2 weeks' time. Lehana Tsotetsi, SABC News.
Now, the big international news story, the search for the Malaysian jet that vanished at the weekend with 239 people on board has been significantly expanded now. Frustration is mounting over the failure to find any trace of the plane, and the Malaysian authorities have doubled the search area to 100 nautical miles, they say. The search area now covers land on the Malaysian peninsula itself, the waters off its west coast, and an area to the north of the Indonesian island of Sumatra. Malaysia's civil aviation chief has confirmed that an oil slick and debris sighted in the sea were not from the missing Boeing 777. Interpol has confirmed that at least 2 passengers used stolen passports and is checking whether others aboard had used false identity documents as well. Yeah, that's the top international story, and we'll keep you updated as the search for that plane continues. But let's just have a look what kind of tweets are coming in on this story very much. Babalo says, some say Malaysia Airlines Flight 307 was hijacked by terrorists. At least this gives family members hope. Does it not have a tracker? Yes, my dear, it's called a black box, but it has to be found before we can see what happened. Andrew Burdock says, what the hell is going on with this Malaysia Airlines plane? Passengers' phones are ringing. Madness, he says. And Mimi Nicklin says, how a plane disappears is not only baffling, but incredibly sad. Watching for news. The world is watching for news, Mimi. And as soon as there's any new developments, you can follow us right on this very channel. We'll keep you updated with what's happening. At what point do they stop looking? Asked Zaire. A very good question. I think this search will continue for at least the rest of the week. And then Lauren says, if it was a terrorist attack, then surely someone would have claimed responsibility. I actually think someone shot it down. Well, Lauren, there's lots of different theories around what's happening or what's happened with this aircraft. We'll try and keep you updated as it develops. Throughout the day, we'll try and see if there's any new developments on the search for this plane. Of course, the search area has now been broadened, and hopefully there'll be a breakthrough for the families in the hours and days to come. Now back to the top story. Of course, the court is in session at the moment, but we're not allowed in at the moment. So let's just backtrack to one of the key moments last week. We spoke to Bernard Hotz from Worksman's Attorneys about the legal aspects surrounding Oscar Pistorius' case. Well, unfortunately, it looks like we've lost audio on that clip as well. Let's go back to social media and see what you're talking about. Are you sending in pictures of the floods? Send us pictures of the floods. We want pictures of the floods, especially everywhere in South Africa. We want to share it with the rest of the country and the continent to show what is happening and what kind of conditions people are in. Can we have a look? Can we have a look? No, we can't seem to have a look at the moment. Nothing seems to be working at this stage this morning. Let's have a look at what we've got on Facebook. Of course, a brand new Facebook page. We've just launched it because you are so keen on interacting, and we want to give you a platform where you can upload all the latest content. Our producer, Katrine Milan, has gone and basically clipped every single interview we've done in the last couple of weeks. It's all on the Facebook page. You can go in there. You can upload, especially there you have Magnolia Dal. That's the flood. One of the flood pictures we've got there. We've got all the interviews on the Oscar Pistorius Riva Steenkamp court case, and they're all in bite-sized chunks right there on our Facebook page. Go to the page. It's on Facebook. Like it, and you'll get updates every day on what's happening. Of course, yesterday we spoke to Howard Dimbowski and Mr. Mwalusi from Johannesburg Emergency Services about the kinds of accidents that's been happening because of the wet weather here in Johannesburg and surrounds. Of course, the roads are congested. The people seem to be quite angry when they're driving on the roads, and a lot of it. There are some pictures. That is Miko Peled, of course, the international best-selling author from Israel, Miko Peled, who wrote the book, The Israeli Army General's Son, Journey of an Israeli in Palestine. We had him in studio yesterday. You can get that clip on our YouTube, on our Facebook page. So there you have all the information as it scrolls up and down. You can interact with the page. Go on there, like it. Be friends with us so that you can upload your pictures. We want your pictures. We want your pictures. We want your contributions. We want to interact with you. Send us your pictures. We want to put them up like we did a little bit earlier so that people can see the things that, well, we do not see on the mainstream news. Meanwhile, Eskom has allayed fears of further rolling blackouts. Last Thursday, the country was hit by load shedding for the first time in 6 years. The power utility blamed the persistent rains for soaking coal stockpiles in Mpumalanga. But the Democratic Alliance is urging the National Energy Regulator to investigate the power outages. The party says it's unacceptable to continue supplying electricity to neighbouring countries when Eskom can't meet the local coal demand. And moving abroad again, unidentified armed men have fired in the air as they moved into the Ukrainian naval post in the Crimea in the latest confrontation with Russia over the region. 10 men in 2 minibuses drove into the compound and demanded that the Ukrainian personnel there give them 10 trucks. A Ukrainian official described the men as Russian troops. No one was injured in the incident. Russian forces, who have been in control of Crimea for more than a week, have not so far exchanged fire in anger with Ukrainian troops. Well, that's where we leave you today. Of course, the show broadcasts live every weekday morning between 9 and 10 a.m. Highlights are then repeated at 2 in the afternoon with a total rebroadcast at 5 a.m. the following morning. We also stream live on YouTube between 9 and 10 a.m. every day with the entire show and available on our YouTube channel all of the time. You can also go to our Facebook page and interact with us there. Post your pictures. We will broadcast them the next day or at any other time when they become available if they're interesting, especially the floods that we see going on in the country now. You're watching SABC News. This is Newsroom. We love it in the morning.